Do you know what once thrived here? Below this concrete overpasses and industrial buildings once stood a thriving Cincinnati community, mostly populated by African American neighborhood known as Kenyon-Barr.
Presently, this space is underutilized. Its history is gone. However, in the 1950s, more than 25,000 people lived in this area, making it one of the most densely populated African American communities in Cincinnati.
Kenyon-Barr wasn't just filled with people, it was thriving, life-filled community. It used to be interconnected network of streets, businesses, and homes.
More specifically, Kenyon-Barr acted as a self-sufficient urban community where many African Americans traveled on foot and worked together daily.
For these residents, the Lower West End was viewed as the backbone of Cincinnati's thriving African American networks.
Institutions such as the Cotton Club and the jazz and musical scenes emerged as centers of community life. In addition, a local YMCA provided daily exercise facilities for those disadvantaged residents. Following the Second World War, many cities throughout the United States underwent rapid changes. Many middle-class citizens were leaving their densely populated neighborhoods in the city for suburban living.
The Housing Act of 1949 established a program that provided funding for the clearance of blighted neighborhoods, mostly populated by minority groups such as African Americans.
To paint a clearer picture, urban renewal is defined as the process of seizing and demolishing large swaths of private and public property for the purpose of modernizing and improving aging infrastructure.
Through the government's right of eminent domain, many minority neighborhoods, such as the Lower West End, were acquired and demolished, leaving no traces of the thriving communities that once stood there.
Through local propaganda and political influence, these policies often targeted lower-income individuals and African American residents present in these blighted areas.
While this documentary takes a deeper dive into the specifics of Kenyon-Barr, these deliberate actions were part of a broader effort to modernize worn-down cities across America.
In 1948, the city of Cincinnati adopted a metropolitan master plan to modernize and reshape the physical structure of the Lower West End.
Rather than promoting rehabilitation in the area, this master plan sought to demolish the city's infrastructure and redevelop it.
Both government officials and city planners who were not exposed to these thriving communities saw these densely populated neighborhoods as obstacles to an industrialized modern development. There were no efforts to preserve these institutions.
Further justifications were used to label the Lower West End. City officials cited this area as overcrowded, aging, and containing elevated rates of tuberculosis.
However, many city officials failed to examine the root causes of these frequent issues. Both discriminatory housing policies and racial segregation confined many African American residents to defined areas and often disallowed investment in these communities.
While many non-minority groups favored the modernization of their cities, they did face some backlash. Civil rights organizations such as the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People criticized these comprehensive plans, arguing that there were no true modernization, only the displacement of minority groups. Before the community's demolition, a formal documentation of every structure in Kenyon-Barr was done. This created a historical image archive of the area.
More than 2,700 images were taken at this time, illustrating the vibrant community present. These photographs showed the institutions, housing, streets, and the storefronts that were a crucial part of many African Americans' daily lives in Cincinnati.
Soon after this notice, residents were told to relocate.
While this formal plan intended for relocation assistance, very little was actually provided. Affordable, safe housing was very limited due to the discriminatory housing practices already in place.
In the early 1960s, large-scale demolition began.
Blocks were eliminated entirely, displacing residents, business owners, institutions, and schools. The Lower West End no longer felt like the vibrant neighborhood it once was.
Interstate 75 was intended to cut directly through the Lower West End.
This massive plan aimed to construct highway infrastructure that would divide the West End and replace the community with automobile-dependent transportation corridors.
In place of the Lower West End also included the Queensgate Industrial District.
Political leaders proposed an industrial hub filled with warehouses and truck terminals designed for easy access by automobiles. However, this district failed to attract tenants, which later led to its rebranding.
What was lost in Kenyon-Barr cannot be measured solely by the buildings destroyed or the blocks erased.
By 1959, this neighborhood was still filled with homes, businesses, churches, schools, and daily routines that tied people together.
What Urban Renewal removed was not just physical space, it removed a living community.
When families were forced to leave, many relocated to neighborhoods such as Avondale, Walnut Hills, and Mount Auburn.
But relocation did not mean restoration. Residents were separated from neighbors, institutions, and support systems that had shaped everyday life in the Lower West End.
The damage extended beyond housing. It disrupted patterns of work, worship, recreation, and community care that had developed over generations.
Institutions that once gave Kenyon-Barr its identity also disappeared as redevelopment moved forward.
The Cotton Club closed, the YMCA was relocated, and familiar gathering places that had served as anchors of neighborhood life were gone.
In their place came highways, warehouses, truck routes, and large stretches of empty land.
The city justified this destruction in the name of modernization and economic progress.
Yet the landscape that replaced Kenyon-Barr never fulfilled the promises used to defend its removal.
According to the 2010 U.S. Census, only 142 residents remained in Queensgate.
A neighborhood that once housed more than 25,000 people was replaced by a district with almost no residential life.
That contrast reveals the true scale of the loss and shows how completely the area was transformed.
What had once been one of Cincinnati's most densely populated black communities became an underused industrial corridor dominated by asphalt and concrete.
Kenyon-Barr was not the only neighborhood to experience this kind of destruction.
In Boston's West End and San Francisco's Fillmore district, Urban Renewal followed a similar pattern of labeling neighborhoods as blighted, displacing residents, and fracturing communities in the name of progress.
Across the country, these projects disproportionately targeted black and low-income communities, while the benefits that had been promised often failed to appear.
Neighborhoods were labeled as blighted, cleared in the name of progress, and replaced with projects that rarely restored what was taken.
In Cincinnati, that legacy is still visible in the altered landscape of the West End and in the lives that were permanently reshaped by displacement.
The loss of Kenyon-Barr was not only physical, it changed where people lived, how communities stayed connected, and what the future of the neighborhood would become.
Even decades later, the questions raised by that destruction have never fully gone away.
We return to present-day Queensgate to ask an important question. When a city demolishes a community, apologizes 60 years later, and is now planning to build another bridge that will again reshape this exact same corridor, what does justice actually require?
Ultimately, Kenyon-Barr is not just a Cincinnati story. It is a case study in how federal Title I funding local city planning, and systematic racism combined to erase a vibrant African American neighborhood under the banner of blight removal and modernization.
The social, cultural, and economic harm inflicted on those displaced residents has never truly healed. Cincinnati's West End remains underpopulated and disinvested to this day.
As the city plans its new companion bridge project, it raises a profoundly uncomfortable question. Is Cincinnati repeating its history, or is it finally reckoning with it?